This is the very nearly fairly current show.
Popteevee.
Hi Mona, welcome to the Fairly Current Show. Thanks for being with us. There's an interesting situation happening right now with regards to, I think in America, for example, with Obama entering the White House. And even here in Malaysia, for example, last March 8, 2008, we've had very interesting political developments where there seems to be a opening up of room for discourse. In terms of equality, and from where you are as a writer, as a lecturer, what do you see as some of the main challenges facing whether it's communities or the world itself in terms of equality right now?
I think one of the biggest problems we have around the world is polarization and identity politics. And I like to think that the Obama administration has closed the door to that way of thinking, especially identity politics. And this was a door that the Bush administration had really kind of flung open far and wide. I think the Bush administration represented this conservative trend, this kind of swing of the pendulum to the right. The Bush administration really took it to its climax. So now that we've closed, thank God, the door on those 8 years of the Bush administration, I like to think that the Obama administration now is opening a new door that represents hope and optimism and equality and justice. And just in the symbolism of Barack Obama himself, he took the oath as Barack Hussein Obama, and he addressed, all the various religions in the United States and the non-believers.
Yes.
So, just in those first few moments as the President of the United States, that, it was watched by billions, around the world, he made it very clear that I am not about a certain group, but I represent everybody. And that really is opening the door to a greater sense of justice and equality. So I'm hoping that that helps the pendulum to start swinging in the opposite direction now, towards the left a bit more. Unfortunately, other parts of the world are still catching up. I mean, if you look at countries like Israel, for example, they just had an election that took a swing to the right.
Yes.
So you're looking at the United States taking a swing to the left. So being the foolish optimist that I am, I like to believe that, in that old saying, when America sneezes, the world catches a cold.
Right.
So I'm hoping this is a liberal sneeze. I'm hoping that this is a sneeze for the sake of justice and equality, and that the entire world catches the flu of justice and equality.
So apart from racial polarization, do you think that there are other areas that we should pay attention to in terms of the fight for equality?
I think it's important to recognize that fundamentalism is the same everywhere. Because, as part of this polarization and identity politics, people have been speaking in this us and them kind of frame of reference, my religion versus your religion, my ethnic identity versus your ethnic identity. And I think this was symbolized, quite horribly in Samuel Huntington's theory of the clash of civilizations, because it was very divisive and it was very reductionist. Samuel Huntington died in December, and may he rest in peace wherever he is. I would like to bury with him the idea of the clash of civilizations, because once we bury this idea that was used to further our divisions, then we can start to recognize who our real allies are. And for me, as a liberal secular Muslim woman and a feminist, my allies are secular liberal feminists or people of any faith or any ethnic background, because I have the most in common with them. I have more in common with a secular liberal Jew than I would have with a conservative Muslim who belongs to the Muslim Brotherhood. See, so those old kind of really lazy assumptions about who is us and who is them, I would like to leave behind and recognize that it's liberals everywhere, and it's the fundamentalists of every religion and every ethnic background that are the threat to me, and not, my religion versus your religion.
What do you think is the role of the internet in kind of really opening up the space to talk about things, I think, in terms of more nuance, like you mentioned, and how do you feel that young people can participate in this discourse?
I'm a huge fan of the internet, because the way I see the internet, especially blogging and social networking sites, is that they've given a voice to the voiceless. I come from Egypt, and in the Middle East, the most marginalized groups have been young people and women. Whether it's mainstream media, whether it's the political dictators who've ruled our countries for decades, they've always marginalized young people and women. So where do young people and women go when they want to express themselves? They launch blogs, they form groups on Facebook, and they use YouTube.
Yes.
And they've used all those methods in tremendously creative ways to challenge religious authority, political authority, and social authority. I mean, I could give you dozens of examples, but just one that I like to give is of a Saudi woman who last year got into a car, and to mark International Women's Day, she sat her sister-in-law next to her. She drove the car, openly violating the Saudi law against women driving. Her sister-in-law filmed her, and she put this clip on YouTube as an open letter to the Saudi Interior Minister, telling him, lift the ban on women driving because it's time to lift this injustice.
Do you think this has anything to do with, I understand that actually very recently, Saudi Arabia actually announced their first deputy minister who is a woman. Do you know about this?
This I haven't heard of.
Yes, actually, I think it's very, very recent. So do you think that the internet, in this case YouTube, could have this kind of very, very practical impact?
Yeah, absolutely, because people organize online. I mean, the same Saudi feminist organized a petition using email and using Facebook. In Egypt, for example, you had young people who organized, they created a group on Facebook that had more than 70,000 members to join a strike in support of worker rights. So, if this woman has been appointed deputy minister, it's in reaction to this growing need and growing push for equality that is expressing itself online because it never had a place to express itself before. I'm always asked in the US when I give lectures on Arab and Muslim issues, why should I care about, for example, Saudi women when they don't do anything about their own situation? But I tell them, but they do. In the past, you never used to hear about what they do about this situation because there was no way for them to show you what they're doing.
Right.
But now, go onto Saudi blogs written by men and women, go onto YouTube and you will see, and go on Facebook and you will see what Saudis are doing to change their country.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And here's to making the world a little bit more bridged.
Yeah, catch the cold of equality.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The unwelcome word of the week is kayu. Kayu. An actor's bad performance can be extended to a politician or anyone else who has to perform publicly. From the Malay word would, maybe because bad actors in a period stage play would be confined to holding wooden spears in the background. Yes, the cast was uniformly kayu, but it didn't kantoi the film because the music was gempa. Plus, you get to see the heroine's jamban.